Audio, test, test. Okay, that's a little better. All right. Morning, folks. Phil Gallagher here. Not for some daily D&T, but for some hunting grounds. So I got a donation a while back that I'm just now getting around to for a hunting grounds deck. And I'm going to read this one. Because unless you're an old man, you've been playing Magic since... Please let me zoom. I can't zoom to see the set symbol. What is that? Judgment? Unless you've been playing since Judgment, you probably don't know this card. Alright, so Threshold. So as long as you have 7 or more cards in your graveyard, Hunting Grounds has, whenever an opponent casts a spell, you may put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. So I got the donation, and originally the deck list was sort of like an all-in Hunting Grounds deck built around Tidespout Tyrant and Mystic Snake, where like you wanted to get Hunting Grounds in play, your opponent casts a spell, you put in a Mystic Snake, counter their spell, and then you return the Mystic Snake with Tidespout Tyrant in order to go and just like counter all of their spells for the rest of the game. And my thought was, well, what does this deck do if it doesn't have a Hunting Grounds in play? And it didn't really have a plan B at all. So I sort of like scrapped the core of the deck and started over. And my thought process was, okay, I want to be playing some things that have Graveyard Matters synergies so that my enablers aren't just affecting Hunting Grounds. And my first thought was, well, what about Vantress Gargoyle? It can't attack unless defending player has 7 or more cards in their graveyard, can't block unless you have 4 or more cards in hand, and it can mill us. So our Thought Scours that target our opponent can enable our Vantress Gargoyles. Otherwise, all of our normal cantrips and stuff will enable Hunting Grounds and Vantress Gargoyle potentially as well. You know, if we can play sort of a Delvery game for, I don't know, 4 or 5 turns, we can easily enable Hunting Grounds and then dump a big fat creature into play. Or just use Hunting Grounds to dodge, like, some sorts of hate. So this doesn't let you cast it, it just lets you put it onto the battlefield. So for example, you can use Hunting Grounds to dodge things like Counterbalance that otherwise might be a little bit tricky. The original fatty that was in the deck was Tidespout Tyrant, but I thought that drawing 7 cards when you're playing a whole bunch of free or cheap counter magic was probably going to be better than the bouncing of the Tidespout Tyrant. As far as the sideboard goes, I decided I wanted to be able to go in 2 directions. I wanted to be able to go heavier on the Cheetah Creature plan, and I wanted to have just a little bit more interaction and cards that I could sub out for when one part of my deck was going to be bad. So Mystic Enforcer is a 6/6 flyer for 4 mana with Pro Black, so if we end up playing against some sort of just generic like Grixis or 4-color control deck, that's probably going to be kind of sweet. That was in the original deck list, and I couldn't bring myself to go and cut it. I thought that'd be fun. Otherwise, we have a little extra removal, a little graveyard hate, a little extra counter magic, so that we can go and like sub some things out. And we can come across some cute combos like Thought Scour you, put one of your combo pieces into the graveyard, and then rip it out of your deck. I don't know whether or not this Hunting Grounds is going to be worth it. My thought is probably no. Like, you have to resolve an enchantment, the enchantment has to stick around, and you have to have Threshold, and you have to have a creature in hand. There's a lot going on there. But in the past, we've seen some of these, like, control decks or Delver decks that randomly have, like, 2 or 3 Entombs, a couple of Reanimates, and a Grizzlebrand or 2. And it wasn't necessarily the craziest thing in the world. Note, I did build this deck with some negative synergy, so I just want to talk about that before it happens, and someone's like, why didn't you think about that? Okay, so if Emrakul is put into your graveyard, it shuffles your graveyard back in, and we have these cards that care about our graveyard. So there are worlds where I will like Thought Scour myself or Vantress Gargoyle myself, and I'll actually put myself further away from Threshold. So that's something to keep in mind with this deck list. but I think the ability to show and tell Emrakul in for some matchups is going to be invaluable. So let's hop on in and see how we do today. I haven't gotten to play nearly as much Magic as I wanted this week. I wanted to be doing a whole lot of preparation for the Legacy Premier League on Wednesday, but I had play practices Monday through Thursday, then a performance last night. I have another performance tonight. I have another performance tomorrow afternoon. I gotta get daily D&T recorded in there somewhere, so I'm not sure how much testing I'm gonna get to do. I'm eyeing a couple of deck lists, and, you know, I might get to play 2 or 3 leagues, but that might be it as far as my testing goes. So I may just default to something that I'm comfortable with. Format's strange right now. It's a lot of mid-rangey piles with Oko running around. I also didn't throw a Savannah into my deck, which is one of the things that I thought about, and then I went, nah. That one's gonna be a nope from me. This is like the same hand. So I'm just gonna confirm that there are lands in my deck that produce blue mana. Yep, okay, there are. There are. If I keep 5 of these, I keep I pitch Hunting Ground to Grizzlebrand, and I have a Delver hand if I draw an island. I am on the draw. I think I need to keep this. This hand is awful. But I don't think I can mulligan any further. Oh, nope, I just looked at this wrong. I was on the play. I still think I have to keep this one. I don't think I can brick more than one more draw here and have a reasonable shot at winning the game. I don't know what my opponent is doing, but I get to force a will one thing that matters. And then die. So I've looked at, I think, 23 cards without seeing a blue land. Yeah, that's got to go. I'm going to pitch my Delver. My opponent didn't make any plays in the first couple of turns, which makes me think that they have a bunch of removal in hand, and I'd rather play a creature that's a little bit stickier if I get a chance to play a creature. Doesn't look like that's going to happen. Haven't seen that card since my EDH days. I assume this is just going to get a Planeswalker. An Ashiok. Yeah, I cannot beat that card without a fetch land in play. Alright, I guess we can force it. But if my opponent leads on a discard spell, I'm going to scoop this up, I think. Yeah, I'd rather hide information about my game. Alright, so my opponent is going to be trying to control my board. They're going to think that I'm a Delver deck. I mean, I am kind of a Delver deck. I'm not sure about this whole, like, hunting grounds plan versus them. I'm not sure that I want to try to assemble two pieces. However, these pro-black Mystic Enforcers are probably going to be freaking sweet. I probably don't need these Source of Plowshares. There's Rotting Regisaur to think about. I don't know whether or not those are actually going to be here. I kind of feel like I want to swap out my Source of Plowshares for Flusterstorms to help better protect me from discard spells. And then just try to counter a whole bunch of stuff while playing a fairer-ish game with the Hunting Grounds Grizzlebrand out later on. The other thing to think about is, like, if Ashiok mill me out is a win condition, Emrakul will deal with that. But I think I don't want to give my opponent the opportunity, like Thoughtseize and Emrakul, and take me off of Threshold. Alright. So I'll keep this hand. We have sort of like a Spell Pierce and a Force of Will to start things off. I think I'm just going to let that happen rather than brainstorm in response. I really don't want to brainstorm lock myself. Now I'm going to dig deep and try to find another land. Okay, so the bad news is there's no land coming. The good news is that I can Thought Scour myself in my upkeep to dump some cards into my graveyard. So what don't I want right now? I'll probably keep the Hunting Grounds Grizzlebrand. Well, I should say, if I'm going to keep them, I need to keep the pair. But maybe I should just shuffle the pair away, because I have such a strong, aggressive hand with these and double counterspell backup. That can resolve, since the threats that we have are just bigger than it right now. I'm okay with that. All right, we drew another Hunting Grounds off of that. We are having a lot of mana trouble in this deck. I took the mana base that the other person sent me, which was 18 lands, 4 of which were wastelands. I thought that sounded about right. This card isn't that good. But this Daze is pretty free. This allows me to, like, hit my land drop for the next turn cycle, and it, like, the Daze will just get worse if I let, you know, a mana sink resolve. So I do now have Threshold. My opponent isn't quite at Threshold levels yet. How do I want to deal with this Ashiok? Do I want to Force of Will it? Do I want to Thought Scour first? I'm just going to play a Vantress Gargoyle on my turn. And this will also just send my stuff to exile and take me off of Threshold. That is a little bit annoying. So I think I want to Thought Scour you. See what I draw. Okay. Do I want to try to ride one Vantress Gargoyle to victory? I think that's fine. It's possible I should force pitch the Force to just be able to play 2 of these in a row. So my opponent now has 6 cards in graveyard, notably. Not 7. So this thing can't attack yet. Basically, no matter what this is, I think I have to counter it. That is oddly annoying. And I can't force a negation that. I guess I should have forced a negation last turn. But once I clicked on my Force of Will, I was kind of committed to it. Okay, that sucks. I guess while I have blue-white, or sorry, while I have green-white available to me, I should resolve that. I'm not 100% sure whether or not I should be milling. Milling puts me into the territory where I can attack. And looking at the board now, I guess I should have just... I couldn't have attacked on my turn. another one of these. So this can block right now. It can't attack right now. What am I going towards? If I cast a card, well, no. Let's ponder and try to find a creature. Because if I keep 4 cards in hand, this could block the Tombstalker. We have the Cabal Pit to worry about too, but like we'll get to that when we get to that. Let's get some fresh cards. The Delver of Secrets. So I can block as of right now. They don't have Threshold yet. So if I just hold back, I could block this or this if they attack with it. They can't get me with this. I don't care about that. I think I'm going to pass the turn without making a land drop. If they cast something, I can dump an extra Vantress Gargoyle into play. Awkward tension here, but I guess we'll mill. Dead of Winter not exactly seeming strong. Do I just want to play a second Vantress Gargoyle? I think I do. If I do, then I can't block this Tombstalker, and my life total takes a decently large hit. I shouldn't have played that Wasteland. I should have just like played Delver and passed. I think that was my line. Yeah, this league is going to be weird, Tipsy. I would like to see the Elder Spell. Destroy any number of target planeswalkers. Okay. Don't have any of those. I should really consider wastelanding either the Cabal Pit or the Mishra's Factory here to keep my opponent off of activating the Curse Scroll. I think it's the Cabal Pit. I think the Cabal Pit messes with my ability to block. Because we're nearing Threshold. This is a weird resource management game. I mean, like, I'm absolutely going to make this trade. Do I want to brainstorm? I kind of do just want to brainstorm. Like, as soon as my opponent casts something, I'll dump in this. I don't necessarily just want to play the Delver because, like, land, Curse Scroll, or any number of removal spells that they can have just, like, immediately invalidate it. think I'll send back 2 lands. We'll fetch out a Tundra. I can play out a Delver. I don't expect it to be long for this world, but if we can get in a couple hits with it before it dies, that's good enough for me. Yeah, this is all fine with me. Yes, I will reveal days. So my Vantress Gargoyle can't block right now. It'll be able to block next turn if that's something I want to do. But I'll probably just plan on clocking my opponent. This Hunting Ground has been really awkward. The game has progressed in a way where I was incentivized to play out my creatures rather than hold it back. So we have somewhere between double and triple counterspells right now. Your Dark Ritual can resolve. Part of me wonders if they're just going to, like, YOLO Curse Scroll activation at my face and then attack in with Mishra's Factory. Alright, so all non-snow creatures will get -2, -2. Do I care? I think I care. It's possible that something worse could come off of another Dark Ritual. Alright, perfect. So we dome our opponent for 8. We have 2 different counterspells available to us that cover different things. Feel pretty good. The Vantress Gargoyle hit alone is lethal here. And the match, it is not over yet. We have to do that again. Okay. So I now know that my opponent has Tombstalkers. And that's slightly awkward with some of my self-mill plan. Do I want to keep some removal in for those? I feel like that's a yes. Between, like, Curse Scroll and Dead of Winter, the Delvers seem kind of medium. But I'm not sure that I can rely on just, like, Vantress Gargoyle, Mystic Enforcer, and the backdoor win condition of Grizzlebrand to actually try and close out the game. I don't think that's enough. I think I need at least 2 answers to a Tombstalker. And I think that answer is supposed to be Swords to Plowshare, even though it would give them 5 life. That's just one more Vantress Gargoyle hit. I don't think I want to give them Path to Exile lands, because the Dead of Winter's not being able to move Vantress Gargoyle most of the time is probably pretty important. So let's junk a couple of these Dazes when I'm on the draw to bring in a pair of Swords to Plowshares. My opponent rethinking their sideboarding now that they've seen what my deck can do. We have a slightly awkward hand in that we don't have initial counter magic if my opponent just like Dark Rituals into something stupid on turn 1. Alright, so this is an aggro hand. I accept him to Drak. I do not want to reveal Vantress Gargoyle. I will, however, play that sucker out. Note that if my opponent can continue to play snow-covered swamps, they can get huge value out of a Dead of Winter on turn 4. But I don't know that they actually are playing enough snow-covered swamps to actually get to Vantress Gargoyle consistently. That's slightly annoying, but I do have the Wasteland in play. Man, I really wanted to get to Mystic Enforcer. Yes, I will reveal Brainstorm. I think I will even Brainstorm right now. Well, is that true? I could just play out another Vantress Gargoyle. With the intention of like killing them more or less in one turn once I can get them to 7 cards in graveyard. I can get to 3 this turn, 4 next turn off Maze of It. They'll presumably play out a card this turn. That'll be 5. Yeah. Actually, let's mill now. No, because I have Tombstalker to consider. All right, let's play out this other Vantress Gargoyle. And then we'll see if I get punished with a Wasteland on my Wasteland. I don't think they have a Wasteland now, because otherwise they would have like waited a turn to get maximum value out of their Maze of Ith. But here we are. Alright, so we can get up to 7 cards this turn, and then crash in with a bunch of Vantress Gargoyles. And it's not super relevant that the Maze of Ith is there. We'll have an 8 damage a turn clock. And a way to remove a Tombstalker if that goes in play. We're most scared of like another swamp into Dead of Winter. Yeah, Ashiok is fine here. That was not supposed to target me. That was... Oh no, it exiles each opponent's graveyard. Okay, never mind. Never mind. I take that back. So there's the 7th card in graveyard. Do I actually kill the Ashiok? I can just crash in for 8 on my opponent. Or I can kill the Ashiok and deal no damage to them, probably. Because I'll send 2 Vantress Gargoyles at Ashiok, then they'll Maze of Ith my Delver. This decision is tricky. So I guess I should think, can I beat Dead of Winter under any circumstances? I don't think under any circumstances I can beat Dead of Winter. So is it just going to be correct to deal 8 points of damage to them this turn? That puts them at 11. I'd have them on a 3-turn clock. They have basically no manipulation. But if I don't take care of the Ashiok, then another creature can get in the way and I won't be able to fetch. Alright. I'm gonna take out the Ashiok. Alright, so I snuck in 3 points of damage there that I did not deserve. Since both of these attack the Ashiok, my opponent should have taken the Delver. And that 3 points of damage is super relevant because through Maze of Ith, I'm doing 8 points of damage a turn. So because my opponent made that misplay, I didn't actually change my clock at all. And I just came out ahead. Hello! Hello! Nice. Nice. So for those of you who haven't seen the whole deck on screen yet, this is this monster right here. It's a weird amalgamation of Graveyard Synergy plus a Delver deck. Vantress Gargoyle was very good in those matches. That was abundantly clear. PVDH has been talking that card up quite a bit. It's no surprise why. Okay. This is kind of a sweet hand. Super happy with this. So we start out like having sort of a Delvery hand that is just 1 land away from like dumping a Hunting Grounds into play and doing something cool. Yeah, I'm just going to let that happen. I'm hoping to draw a blue card so that I can double protect my Hunting Grounds on my turn. I'm also hoping that I don't get wastelanded. No, there won't be any D&T today. Am I willing to just jam I'm recording daily D&T tomorrow, and I'll be playing D&T on stream Monday night, though. I think I'm willing to just jam Hunting Grounds with 1 piece of backup here. Like, I don't know what my opponent is playing yet. I don't know if this is Grixis Delver. I don't know if this is Grixis Control. And they might not even think that this card even matters yet. Because I am pretty far away from threshold. I just don't want to sit on this card and then have to, like, force of will a Thoughtseize next turn or something like that. I'm fine with you brainstorming in response. Alright, so now we just have to get to threshold without dying. Four-color control, featuring Ren and 6. Four-color Delver, featuring Ren and 6. What really needs to happen is Hunting Grounds D&T. Hey man, we have enough bad cards in D&T as is. I don't think we need to add in extra ones. Well, poop. Wasn't necessarily expecting that. That feels pretty bad. So my current theory now is that we're playing against some sort of like Stryfopile deck. Lands seem to support that idea. Absolutely not. He does respect the Hunting Grounds. The Hunting Grounds plan also will look worse in the face of Oko. Because it can just, like, turn my Grizzlebrand into an elk. I really hope I don't have to force a will something this turn. So we have Swords to Plowshares that we can draw to answer that thing. But we'd only have 4 turns to do so. I have no cantrips currently. This feels bad since we're like one land away from being able to hardcast these things, but I don't think I can let this clock in play when I'm just so far away from making a game plan happen. Yeah, just tap out for a Jace, it'll be fine. Alright. We're on the wrong side of the advantage board. I'm going to Thought Scour myself now, see if I can get into something fun. I would have found the Swords to Plowshares. Unfortunate. Okay, so I am going to play the Hunting Grounds here. Because if my opponent tries to hardcast Force of Will, I get them with Daze. Oh, baby. Oh, yeah. I'm going to go ahead and take this opportunity to return an island to my hand. Come on! Come on! I just want to dump a Grizzlebrand into play via Hunting Grounds. Is that so much to ask? So to finish my thought, I'm going to take this opportunity to just throw one of these in here. So that I can have some brainstorm fodder if I need it for a little bit later. I mean, I guess I'll do this. Can't take my opponent off black, can't take him off red, can't take him off green. There's probably no possibility that they want double red. They might want double black, and extra blue sources are always welcome. So let's take out that. Unfortunately, I have no black sources in my deck, and I only have one more copy of Hunting Grounds, too. So we're really, at this point, looking to shuffle away the Grizzlebrand. I don't think this Delver is long for this world. My opponent doesn't have threats in hand, so they must have answers. Sure. I don't think that is the best use of your Brazen Borrower if you know that I have, like, big scary things that I could be dumping in with Hunting Grounds. I really don't like that play. Like, you got 1 mana worth of tempo there for your 2 mana. You're also at 18. You're in no threat of dying. Your deck's full of removal. I really question that one. Alright, so there's Delvers in my opponent's deck as well. Cool. I still think I'm just going to ram this out there. As of last turn, my opponent didn't have removal. That is how that works. Actually, rather than my Force of Will, I should really just daze that, I guess. In which case I shouldn't have fetched. That was an error. I may get punished for that error now. Alright, yeah, so let's ship back the Grizzlebrand. And I guess the Force of Will. I was forced to keep this fetch land because of the poor decision that I made. This will get a Tropical Island, my last fetchable land. Ponder, see if we can find a source of Plowshares for their Delver. We don't. Am I willing to just play double Vantress Gargoyle and try to race them? So they get 3 attacks on me and I'm dead. I get 2 attacks on them and they're dead. I'm not going to be able to block with the Vantress Gargoyles. So this gives me a way to win if they have Stone Cold Nothing, but having the Daze and Wasteland on top means that I will just die if they have things. I really feel like I want to find a source of plowshares this turn, and like that's my best path towards victory. I'm gonna shuffle this. And we did not get there. Abrupt Decay here, just an absolute beating against us on multiple levels. It takes out Hunting Grounds. We can't use our huge number of counterspell to do anything about it. Alright, so now we're basically drawing to Swords of Plowshares as our only out. And being at 3 means that like a random Snapcaster or Lightning Bolt will finish us off. And I also probably just can't beat another creature. Yep. Okay, so this seems good. This seems good. This seems okay. Hunting Ground seems bad. That means I either need to cut all of my Grizzlebrands as well, or I need to play Show and Tells. If I bring in 3 cards from my graveyard that aren't the Hunting Grounds and Grizzlebrands, one of them needs to be like a Surgical Extraction, which is not great. So maybe I'm supposed to play the Show and Tells. But I'm not really sure. Like, I don't think these flusters are necessarily going to be amazing if my opponent has these abrupt decays that I can't fight over in the first place. I don't necessarily like 2-for-1ing myself when my opponent has the planeswalkers that are going to get them out of these situations. I'm definitely the worst Delver deck. I'm definitely the worst control deck. So how am I supposed to approach this? Does that mean I'm just supposed to be the combo deck and just, like, not try to out-Delver them? This would feel weird, and I'd still have too many cards. Yeah, I guess let's pretend to be a combo deck this time. Well, not, I guess, pretend. I guess we are a combo deck. Well, this hand's awkward. I have Show and Tell plus too many fatties. I have 1 cantrip that lacks manipulation. I do have an answer to a creature, but I can't actually cast it. Is this good enough to keep? A Show and Tell hand is going to be way better than a Hunting Grounds hand, but I can't actually protect this. I'm going to ship this one back. This hand has problems too, but I think I'm going to keep this one and send back this Daze. I'm most afraid of a Wasteland out of this hand, but I don't know how many Wasteland my opponent is playing as a 4-color deck. Please draw land, please draw land, please draw land. Cantrip, I accept. Perfect. I will take all of these. Um, I'm going to redraw the fetch land next turn with the intention of just drawing the Wasteland as well. I want to play my show and tell with Fluster backup. And I can pierce a discard spell if my opponent has one this turn. Oh yeah, just like tap out for Oko or something and let me show and tell. I'm going to go ahead and fetch ahead of time, just so I don't get into any weird, like, I fetch in response and I get dazed sorts of situations. I feel like I have come out ahead in this exchange. Annoyingly, there are worlds where they just like, hey, look, it's an elk, if I don't hit a Force of Will. It's also annoying. So I need to draw 7 in response. I can't fluster that effectively yet. It's just a Spell Pierce right now. Okay, that will work. So they can pay for that if they want, and then I'll fluster it. So something that I've been talking with a lot of people about is how ridiculously flexible the Delver decks are now in dealing with cards that they could never ever beat if they were in play before. So like it used to be that if you could dump a Grizzlebrand, an Emrakul, an Ensnaring Bridge, or something of that nature in play, Delver basically flopped around and died. And that's just not the case anymore. Now they can beat so many things that, like, normally in the past were basically unbeatable. due to things like Oko and Ren and 6. I have to think about how I want to play this turn. I am going to want to leave open at least one blue for Flusterstorm. I'm probably going to want to remove their Delver. I'm going to try not to discard too many cards. And I can wasteland them off of a couple colors, too. So I could do something like double Wasteland, Swords to Plowshares, Delver. We're going to save the Path to Exile in case they play something with a bigger butt. Now I will just pay for that. And we won't go the Wasteland route this turn. I think I'll just hold up. Yeah, this gives me 7 in hand. I can just whack them for 7. Hold up a redraw with Thought Scour. Path to Exile and Flusterstorm as well. So, like, that's 2 turns in a row that a Delver deck has been able to answer a Grizzlebrand that's in play. Just, like, to throw that out there. Super rewarded for my choice the previous turn in not giving them additional life. So now I can make some choices about whether or not I want to like wasteland them into Oblivion, whether or not I want to show and tell, whether or not I want to like show and tell with some backup. I think I'm going to cut them off 2 different colors here. So I can cut them off of black. I can cut them off of red. I can then cast a show and tell. If they have a daze and that's their last card, cool. We have 22 power in play, plus a Force of Will. They have 1 card. Okay, now I have to decide if I want to change my sideboarding strategy and bring my threats back in, now that they've seen that I'm doing a show and tell thing. It's sort of a weird dance. So they have Oko and Brazen Borrower that can just return these things to my hand, and that's pretty annoying. I'm not really sure that I can out-Delver them when they're the ones that have Oko and Ren 6. It's possible I should board in these Swords to Plowshares, though. Not really sure. This is obviously not a super tuned sideboard. Yeah, we have a show and tell transformational sideboard. You should take a look at the deck list on Cardboard Live. It is special. I got a donation to try and make a Hunting Grounds deck, And this is what I came up with. I'm not claiming that it's good, but it is definitely interesting, and it's making for some very strange games. I kind of want to get my Swords of Plowshares and Mystic Enforcers in here. Mystic Enforcer has a pro black and is just bigger than everything else my opponent is doing. But let's try to play the combo game. And maybe I needed a 19th land in this deck. This is like the 4th time we've had one of these single wasteland openers. Well, that was rough. Once Upon a Time? Really? I think I need to wait this out and try to play this Hunting Grounds with protection. There's a tension between trying to, like, get this thing into play as soon as possible and them having Abrupt Decay versus them having counter magic versus them getting closer to, like, Oko mana. But we need the Hunting Grounds for this Emrakul. And the other problem is that, like, Threshold is a huge issue this game. And we know my opponent has at least one counterspell. Yeah, we're dead here. I 100% do not expect to win this game. I'm going to target myself with this Thought Scour. I don't think it's likely to get countered, and I'm not going to put another land in play to play around a Spell Pierce. Fuck. Because if I hit fetch lands, I want to be able to fetch and get closer to Threshold. Bosk, I got a donation to brew a Hunting Grounds deck, and this is what I came up with. So that's kind of what I'm talking about, in that, like, the Delver decks are more equipped than they've ever been to beat the decks that hate on them. It is terrifying. Keep. I think Delver is the best tempo, mid-range, and control deck right now. I'm okay with going on the record saying that. So my opponent is playing ninjas. That's what's happening here. So presuming this resolves, our next problem is just hitting threshold. I don't really know if ninjas can beat Grizzlebrand. But I'm not going to be able to daze or force a negation a ninja that's cheated into play this turn. Yeah, we're playing against ninjas. Straight up, do I just like daze this Ornithopter so that they don't get to cheat another ninja into play? I think the answer is yes. It gets me further towards threshold. That's more value than it looks like. I know that doesn't necessarily look great. So 1, 2, 3. I could get up to 4 cards in my graveyard this turn if I wasteland myself, but we're not there yet. So we'll redeploy that land that they know about. Kind of the issue here is I need to get something else in play so that my opponent has to like interact with me. Otherwise, they can just like whack me with Yuriko until I die. Yuriko's also a much faster clock than it looks like because sometimes it randomly hits a force of will and nugs you for 5. I will force of negation literally anything that I can. Yeah, I don't actually care about that card. I'm just trying to put cards in my graveyard. So this is 4 cards in my graveyard now. I'm hoping to draw just like literally any spell that I can cast so that I can wasteland myself and get Hunting Grounds active. Son of a bitch, Brazen Borrower. And we like didn't get a spell either. Well, actually, Brazen Borrow is kind of weird because like they can cast it for the adventure mode, and because like if I have Hunting Grounds active and they cast it for the adventure mode targeting my Grizzlebrand, in response I can just put another Grizzlebrand into play and keep the new one. But we flooded out super bad this game. All right. I guess I'm not technically dead to that. But I like still know they have a force of will. So I'd probably need to draw something that interacts with their force of will. Sure. I think I'm just dead. So this can block, right? As long as I have 4 more cards in hand? Yes. Alright, so I'm going to play out Hunting Grounds as the bait and hope my opponent counters it. And then actually hope to resolve Vantress Gargoyle. Okay, so exactly as planned. So this keeps me alive. Alright. So no, we didn't really lose that one to my opponent's deck, right? So we have 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lands in like 14 spells. So what I need to decide to do is whether I'm going to play this game as a fair or unfair deck. My opponent has a lot of cheap or free counter spells. They also have basic lands, so Path isn't great against them. I think it's probably better to be the combo deck. Like, the Hunting Ground side of my deck seemed like it was just going to obliterate my opponent. But when maybe when I'm on the play, I should Delver. My opponent's going to fill up their own graveyard quickly for Vantress Gargoyle. So, like, if I play fair, I can board, like, Mystic Enforcers, Paths, Flusterstorms, and board out 6 of those 7. Play 1 Surgical Extraction for random information. Or maybe I should be the combo deck on the play and then do this stuff on the draw, where I want more answers to their ninjas. Let's be the. Actually, no. No, this is fine. All right, this deck very clearly needed more land. His hand is awful. I'm gonna keep it, and I guess pitch this. I guess let's pitch the Fluster, with the plan being use the Dazes to continue to hit my land drops. So we have 2 removal spells in a row on top of our library. Yeah, your Ornithopter resolves. I'll Swords to Plowshares that. That needs to not resolve, though. That card's obnoxious. So, like, we've taken care of the initial rush here, and hopefully kept my opponent from sneaking something into play. But I have no pressure, and that is its own problem. So when I got the donation to build a Hunting Grounds list, my first kind of initial thought was that the card isn't good enough by legacy standards. While it's a cheap enabler, it's very slow and requires a lot of setup. So it's a 2-card combo that you can't play out on its own. It requires your opponent to interact with you in certain ways in order for you to do anything with it. And it also requires you to get threshold. There's sort of like a lot of like things that have to go right in order for that card to work. And we can kind of see that here in that, like, say I had the hunting grounds in my deck right now. Like, we're not at threshold. We don't have the other side of the combo. Like, there's a lot of things going wrong. Back to basics is a no-go. So like I don't think the upsides of hunting grounds are high enough that you should be playing that card in Legacy. Like Legacy is just so incredibly powerful right now. Like if you think about the card quality that's been printed in the last year and a half, like Karn, Arcanist, Oko, Ren and 6, and even some of the things that just see fringe play, like, you know, Brazen Borrower and such, those are, you know, all problematic in their own way. That I don't think you have a lot of time to just kind of dirtle around and play things that aren't hyper efficient. Yeah, that's fine. We have more removal spells. So note, the ninja's deck really falls apart if they are not drawing an extra card every turn. Sure. So now I want to find a new thread off of this. I did not. I'm going to answer that on my turn so I can do it with Fluster Up. And I will do it now, so I play around Hardcast Force of Will. Alright. So my opponent has 6 basic lands in their deck and has all of them. That's good to know. Son of a bitch. Alright, I will just lose the game to that card unless I draw something quickly. Because this can just, you know, turn after turn crank out creatures. So, like, they... Ugh. So this card is, I'm not going to say, like, unbeatable for control decks, but it's very hard to beat. Because, like, my opponent's going to get to attack with that Thopter, then turn it into a 4/4, then start the whole process again. And this Mystic Enforcer is not going to be good because those things are colorless. Yeah, this game is officially over. I'm gonna go ahead and concede here. Like I'm just not going to beat that. And then as soon as they draw a ninja, like they start drawing all of the cards, and we're done. our deck is not objectively powerful enough that we can get out of that, and we don't have like any disenchant answers or anything like that, since we've taken up so much of the sideboard to be able to lean harder into the combo plan when we want to. Yikes. So as far as deck building goes, I've had to throw back a lot of like wasteland only hands. I don't think this should be a wasteland deck. Like, it's kind of cool to be able to wasteland yourself and like throw 2 cards in the graveyard for hunting grounds. But I don't know that that's worth it. Like, so many of the hands that I've had, if it was just a colored source rather than a wasteland, I had it. So I should probably like play a 19th land, get rid of the wastelands for stability. Could even try something like Cephalid Coliseum in flex slots over wasteland, just because like it is blue and it does work towards the hunting grounds theme. Although, to be honest, I mean, I think the best part of this deck so far has been Vantress Gargoyle. So if you just wanted to build a deck around like the ideas that are here, just like build a deck around this card. This card's pretty powerful. Boo. I just want to play Magic with my bad deck. Also, I'm not the biggest MTG finance person anymore, but like Star City has these foil Vantress Gargoyles listed at 250. That would be a card that I would be looking at getting a lot of copies of if I was still in the MTG game of finance. This hand doesn't really do anything, but I am going to keep it. My opponent is playing non-basic lands, then like we do have a real game plan this game. Nope. I really wish I could counter that. I think Bone Crusher Giant is an absolutely terrible card. Just by the way. I played a league or 2 with that card in it, and I never used it once. Alright, let's get got by Simian Spirit Guide. Yeah, there we go. Alright, so our wastelands that we kept the hand, like, this was the strength of the hand, and that strength is now gone. We have 4 cards towards Threshold. We will be Stone Cold Dead to a Blood Moon effect. Now that's the thing, Chalice isn't that good right now, though. And that's one of the problems. Like, Delver has main deck answers to Chalice now. Usually multiple of them. And the same is true of most of the other threats of Red Prison. That is too late. Like, yes, you can still steal games off of Chalice, but Delver isn't just the amalgamation of 1-drops that it used to be with no ability to beat Chalice. You have these main deck things like Ren and Six, Oko, True Name Nemesis, Brazen Borrower that either give you alternative ways to win the game or actual outs to that card. I think we need to draw Hunting Grounds this turn, or I concede. Yeah. So the good news is Show and Tell for Emrakul is usually pretty clutch against Red Prison these days. So that is something that I'll definitely be wanting to do. So how do I want to play this game? I'm going to want to trim some of my 1-drops in respect of Swords to Plowshares. This is the package that I'm going to want to win the game with. I'll probably board out my Delvers and try to win with, like, things that aren't converted mana cost 1. I may even just board in Mystic Enforcer for that same reason. Bad against the Ensnaring Bridge side, but, like, we literally cannot beat an Ensnaring Bridge. We don't have outs to that. So the trickiest thing is going to be getting 7 cards into my opponent's graveyard for some of these, like, things that care about Threshold. So I don't think I can cut my Thought Scours, which is awkward. But I think Thought Scour is kind of like my worst card here. I think I am going to do that. And maybe I can't, like, just make Mystic Enforcer work as just a 6/6 because I can't sideboard out any more cards reasonably. Like, I need answers to their Goblin Idiots, I need my counter spells, I need to keep some manipulation to assemble both combo pieces. No, I think I have to keep the Swords of Plowshares as to not die. I'll be keeping this hand primarily on the strength of Brainstorm on turn 2. I'm going to Spell Pierce whatever my opponent does on turn 1. Turn 2, I'm going to, you know, at some point, whether it's my turn or their turn, I will Brainstorm, try to shuffle some of my fat away. That's an interesting draw. It would mean putting down the shields, which I don't like, though. I'm going to pass the turn. The thing I'm most worried about is specifically Magus of the Moon, since that can't be hit by my Spell Pierce. So we're going to try to maximize our value out of this by brainstorming, then fetching and spell piercing. Beautiful. How do I even want to play this? Show and Tell Emrakul with Force of Will backup seems pretty sweet. So I think I'm actually going to abandon the Hunting Grounds plan. Throw back Hunting Grounds Grizzlebrand. Fetch and Spell Pierce. And again, Simian Spirit Guide could ruin our plans. Great. So we're just basically hoping that my opponent does not have Ensnaring Bridge in hand right now. Most of the red prison builds right now are light on Ensnaring Bridge, so that's not actually that big of a problem. So like we can beat it unless they put it in off the Show and Tell, in which case I get to Force of Will it the following turn. Alright, so now we've shown our opponent this Force of Will plan, so if they have bridges, they'll come in now. Does that make me want to Delver them? I don't necessarily think so. I think the plan is still just, like, try to cheat an Emrakul into play and get them, or try to drop an early Hunting Grounds before they can moon me. I still very much do not think we are favored. We have Show and Tell, we have a Force of Will, we have another alternative threat. This hand is very good. Becomes a lot less good if I have to Force of Will something turn 1. Very heavily considering letting Trinisphere resolving and wastelanding their city of traders. It's such an easy way to steal games from Red Prison. I'm going to brainstorm in response to see if I have a third land. Because if I have more land coming, it's just so good to just gimp them with Wasteland here. I think I am on board with this. It will mean redrawing all of these cards, but I think that's okay. I have a really high success rate at making this work. The only time it doesn't work is if they have the follow-up Soul Land. Alright, now I literally can't win the game. So be it. But we took a high-risk, high-reward plan. Like, if they didn't have the Soul Land there, we probably just won the game. And that sucks, but it is what it is, and I don't regret it at all. I think one of the best things that a Delver deck traditionally can do against Red Prison is try to steal games like that. Like, Trinisphere is a symmetrical card, and the downsides that it have are huge. You know, if... this is a real old one, but I think it's the only Red Prison list I have up right now. So if you look at it, they only have 18 lands. Trinisphere shuts off 6 of their mana sources, and then there's Spirit Guides as a temporary mana source. So, assuming there's a mountain and, like, 1 soul land in play, there's 16 permanent mana sources and 16 permanent mana sources plus 4 one-shot things. So they need to get 2 of... So many of these cards won't let you cast spells on their own. Like if you just get a mountain or a spirit guide, that doesn't let you just go and start casting cards again. And Red Prison's mana is like surprisingly bad. I'm gonna keep this and probably get wastelanded and die. I don't think I care about that. That's really what I wanted to see. So I guess the next question becomes, how do I want to approach the next turn cycle? Do I just want to jam Hunting Grounds and set it up so that, like, as of the next turn, I can start dumping things into play? I think I do. I have Force of Will for if something real scary happens. And real scary probably doesn't just mean something like a Thalia or something like that. Real scary means, like, something that threatens to remove my Hunting Grounds. You know, what is it? A Night of Autumn, or, you know, a Green Sun that's decently large. Because I can use Swords to Plowshares to remove any, you know, medium-sized creature. What is this? Green Sun for X equals 2. So that would be for a Qasali Pride Mage. I could then Swords to Plowshares Qasali Pride Mage. That would be 5 in graveyard. Thought Scouring myself would put 7 in graveyard. I accept this. I could try to brainstorm to find a land to make this turn cycle better. I guess I can Thought Scour myself and try to find a land. So the first thing we're dumping in isn't overly impressive. The Vantress Gargoyle isn't going to be amazing right now. But it will become good quickly. And then we can start brainstorming towards Grizzlebrand. So now we want to keep something like a Knight of the Reliquary from resolving because it can find Caracas. Man. Abrupt Decay tonight has been a beating. I think that card is very well positioned right now. Not like against our deck or anything, but just generally speaking, people are very much relying on things that Decay kills. You know, Wrenn and 6, Oko, Tarmogoyf, Delver, Arcanist, things of these nature are pretty good right now. And Decay gets them all. Am I forcing that? I'm about to get my Tundra wastelanded. I kind of feel like this is my win condition for this game. We're going to pitch the Brainstorm. We don't want to get Brainstorm locked. You know, maybe I just want to play... Oh, perfect. Super happy that land is going instead. Alright. So I can't attack until you have 7 in graveyard. You have 4 in graveyard. I want to Swords. Do I want to Swords to Plowshares as Noble Hierarch? I'd rather Swords to Plowshares something like a Knight. I think I'm just going to let this Noble Hierarch live. And I think I am going to Ponder. I don't want that stuff. So I can mill you and get you to 5 in graveyard. Mill you, get you to 6 in graveyard the following turn. My Swords of Plowshares is going to send stuff to exile. Yeah, that's okay. It's slightly annoying, because my opponent can just eat stuff from their graveyard. But, you know, it is what it is. Opponent just let that go. So are they... Maybe they're looking to get the redraw out of Horizon Canopy in this turn cycle. So they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in graveyard. I can make it 6, but I can't make it 7. It's going to get a Scrib Ranger. In all likelihood. Which is pro-blue, which is a problem. I'm going to nug this Horizon Canopy while I can't draw a card with it. And then that's going to resolve. Yep. Is this really good? Arkin, thank you very much for your support. For everyone who's tuning in, hi, my name is Phil Gallagher. I run ThrabenU University, a site for legacy, death, and taxes. We're currently paired off against a Maverick deck, and I am playing essentially a Hunting Grounds deck. It's not necessarily the best deck in the world, but it was a donation deck list, and it is what it is. We're going to see if we can get a win against Maverick here. This pro-blue creature is definitely putting a hurt on my strategy, but I feel pretty good if we can get that out of the way. I'm also not sure if I'm supposed to mill them anymore from here, because I'm just threatening, like... That attack seems a little weird to me, but okay. No, the Gilded Goose is confusing me too. I'm trying to figure out like what's going on with that. All right, the Scrib Ranger on tapping. So the Scrib Ranger is just going to play Sword and Shield, attacking for 2 a turn. I need a Swords to Plowshares to get this out of the way. Oh, I see. It can continue to create food tokens. So this is probably just a 1/0 that's a green sun target. Yeah, the Gargoyle is the best card that's in this deck. The core of this deck is not, like, the Hunting Ground side of this deck is not good. That was established very quickly. And, you know, I really suspected that before the stream. But Vantress Gargoyle has been pretty hot. I'm gonna concede this one. I'm not beating this Scrib Ranger once Giver of Runes is active. All right. So a big dumb flying idiot. I think I'm in the market for that. I don't think my Spell Pierces are good. Those need to go. The Hunting Grounds is going to walk into things like Abrupt Decay and like Night of Autumn and things of that nature. So this side probably isn't good. Oh yeah, there's Delvers in here too. So I'll play Paths to deal with their board. So maybe not Grizzlebrand. What if we play like 3-ish Show and Tells, 3-ish Emrakul's? That puts me at 61. Well, actually, maybe I'm not supposed to Force of Negation. It doesn't hit creatures. Like, there's some things like Sylvan Library that it really, really matters that it hits. All right, so let's give ourselves the ability to dump in Emrakul and maybe get a free win, while also just attacking with a bunch of flyers in the air. Keep. We will just be playing a fair Delver game at first. The Thought Scours are definitely going to be worse than the post-sideboard games, by the way. Just throwing that out there. If I'm not trying to very aggressively threshold myself, then they're essentially just a slow cantrip. Oh yeah, this definitely falls into the don't try it at home, kids category. I don't think this is a strong deck list. I did the best I could in trying to build around Hunting Grounds, but I don't think we're at the right power level. I think I'm going to let that go. And I think I'm just going to try to let this flip naturally. Now I'll brainstorm. Alright. I don't want Wasteland right now. I am going to want third land. I think my Thought Scour is kind of awkward. I'm going to go ahead and shuffle that away. Nope. Nope. Hey JD, morning. You're just in time to catch some of this. We are in round 5. We're currently 1-3. Well, yeah, that's resolving. My dazes are going to look way worse now, with like Cradle and Hierarch involved. Thoughtscar, I just tried to get rid of you, friend. Let's target me, hopefully not put an Emrakul in there. Aha! You came to hand. Good job, friend. So I'm hoping to be able to, like, force of will a Knight of the Reliquary this turn, or something of that nature, so that that sort of thing doesn't get show and telled in. Choke. How do I want to deal with that? Do I just want to force of will that? I could double daze it in hopes of getting... No, that doesn't work. Yeah. Alright, so let's rip a land off the top. Show and tell this Emrakul in. Nope. So Swords of Plowsharing the Giver is actually pretty good in that it also denies a mana for Gaia's Cradle. I mean, that just has to happen. We weren't planning on winning the game with the Delver anyway. Alright. Delver comes back. It's at least somewhat likely that my opponent has another answer to the Delver, though. Like, given that they didn't play anything else that turn. It's not 100% because they could have, like, 3 drops as well. Green Sun for X equals 2. Yes, that occurs. Maybe like a Scavenging Ooze, Scrib Ranger. I'm not even going to be able to daze whatever their follow-up play is in all likelihood. Oh, yeah, I can. Unless it's like Abrupt Decay. Oh, well, nope, they still have mana available for that. And I don't have a basic land to search for. Arkin, thank you very much for your support. Very much appreciated. That's both a raid and a sub today. Very much appreciated. Thank you. I haven't had a lot of time to watch streams this week. I haven't even watched the VODs from the Legacy Premier League from Wednesday yet. I'm hoping to do that this afternoon. I ended up being recruited for a play because a friend of mine just needed someone to kind of fill in the last character. Yeah. So if I daze that by paying mana, they tap the Bayou. If I daze it again, they just untap the Noble Hierarch, and I don't get anywhere. So yeah. At least it wasn't a knight, so like Show and Tell Emrakul is still an out. Yeah, so that's why you haven't seen as many Phil streams recently, in case anyone was curious. Alright, so we get to jam and see if it's good enough. My opponent has a knight left. It is not good enough. Yep. Alright. GG. We're dead. Just, like, legit dead maybe on this turn. they bounce my Emrakul with a Caracas, and then like the following turn I will die. I'm just going to confirm that they have it, and then scoop it up. Yep. All right. Yeah, Pioneer has been crazy successful thus far. All right, so Hunting Grounds. I don't think Hunting Grounds is a legacy power level card. You know, was happy to try and brew with it, but I don't think we're there. This requires too many setup cards, too many setup turns. You really need to be playing a plan B with it. But the problem was that our plan B of like trying to hit people with Delver and Vantress Gargoyle was probably just better than plan A. And like this card has its own tensions, and so does this, and so did like there were some aspects of my sideboarding that had tension. Like if we wanted to board out this side of the deck because it wasn't good, we didn't really have enough to bring in. If we also wanted to be able to lean into show and tell Emrakul at other times. So I just don't think Hunting Grounds is viable in Legacy. A lot of the other two mana enablers that are very, very powerful but narrow also really don't see play for similar reasons. So you have things like Stronghold's Gambit, where it's like a better show and tell against a lot of decks, but because of the narrowness and the constrictions that are in the deck, like you can't do a ton with it. And yeah, I don't think Hunting Grounds is good enough. You know, when people are jamming cards of the caliber of like Oko, Renin 6, Delver, Tarmogoyf, Karn, Other Karn, Urza, you know, Chalice of the Void, and you're playing Hunting Grounds that if you jam it on turn 2, it still might be another 2 or 3 turns before it's active. I don't think this is where you need to be. Maybe there's another way to build this so that it's better, but I don't think we're there. And also, like, having to go into green-white is slightly awkward. Mixing those colors with blue isn't necessarily always going to be the best combination. And if you're going into green and blue, it's usually for something like Noble Hierarch, where you want mana acceleration. But you don't really want mana acceleration if you're trying to cheat fatties into play, right? So I think there's just too much tension in, like, the deck building here. I think that's all I'm going to do for this morning. I'm going to go ahead and turn you all over to the Eternal Weekend coverage, and I hope you all enjoy this. If you're new to the channel today and you haven't followed already, please consider doing so. And if you're really enjoying my content, consider doing something to support it. I'll see you all later, and I'm going to turn you over to Card Titan.